Hey everyone. So in this tutorial, we would just try to modify the existing report that we just made in our last tutorial. We will try to make it a parameterized report and try to explore how to add parameters to a report and how to give it some default values and so on and so forth. So let me just run this report for now. Let me just make sure that don't have anything over here, and if I just run this report, you see that this is the same thing that we saw in our last tutorial. So what we are going to do right now is add a parameter to this. So the simplest way is modify this, modify the query. You say that where territory ID, oops, let me just make sure the oops, and I just add a parameter as though I would do in our normal store procedure. So once I do that, you see that in the parameters section it adds a parameter. So it basically identified that your query requires a parameter and then automatically added it to the parameters folder. If you double click on that one, you see that a couple of options have been set for you, like the data type and so on and so forth. You have the available values, what should be the default values, and so on and so forth. So for now, let us just run this report and see what we get as the output. Let us just see what happens for territory ID 3 and territory ID 6 and so on and so forth. So you see that this has been filtered down to just show you the territory ID, which is the one that you have defined in the filters. Now there may be cases where you would like to have a drop down, right? You'd like to pull the values from a query, something like select the distinct territory IDs from the customer table, and that should give you something like 1 to 20 or something like that, and you would like to have it displayed in a drop down so that the user doesn't have to think as to kind of what should he type in. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more data set. I'm going to call this as parameter underscore territory ID. You can just give it any name you want. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same connection and build a query out of it. Let's follow the same drill. Let's add customer table. And now I'm going to just add the territory ID. And let me just add the distinct territory ID. Okay. So once this has been done, you see that you have a data set which just selects the distinct territory IDs. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to utilize this data set which I just made. So if you click on available values, there is an option called specify values or get values from a query. I'm going to use that. I'm going to choose the parameter territory ID dataset that we just created, and I'm going to use the territory IDs as the value field and the label field. Once we are done with this, let's click on preview. Now we find I no longer have a text box, but you have a drop down in which you can select a territory ID and then kind of view a report on this. So this becomes more intuitive, like the person doesn't have to think as to what should he type in. So just imagine if you have 5 to 6 such parameters and then you find that everything is just a text box, and this really confuses the user. So it's best to have something like this wherein the user doesn't have to think too much. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you in this tutorial. In the coming tutorial, probably what we'll do is we'll try to cover something like how can we make a cascaded parameter list over here. Thank you.